What if she could see your real worth without you saying a single word? What if you didn't have to explain yourself, justify your value, or compete for her attention? What if your energy alone could tell her everything she needs to know about who you are? This is about silent power that speaks through your actions. Today, you'll learn 9 actions that make any woman value you deeply. Comment real worth if you're ready to unlock what most men will never figure out. Number 1. Know your own value. A man who lacks understanding of his own value walks through life with a silent weight on his chest, constantly trying to earn approval in places that only teach him to doubt himself more, bending his truth to fit someone else's expectations, exhausting his spirit, trying to be seen by those who don't care, not realizing that the respect he wants from others must first come from within himself, because the moment you allow another human being, especially a woman who is looking to you for direction, to become the judge of your worth, you lose not only her respect, but your own clarity. And without clarity, your steps are uncertain, your voice lacks power, and your presence becomes forgettable. So many men waste years trying to be everything to a woman who doesn't even know what she wants, hoping that by being softer, more agreeable, more available, they'll finally be loved. But love earned through self-abandonment becomes a prison, and every time you ignore your inner standards just to keep someone around, you teach her that your needs come second and her desires come first, which is a lie you will pay for with your dignity, because if you don't live by your own code, you will be forced to live by hers, and hers will change every time she changes how she feels, which means your identity will constantly shift to match whatever mood or emotion she wakes up with that day. You'll never be grounded. You'll never be respected. You'll always be adjusting, apologizing, explaining, defending. And in that space, attraction dies, respect evaporates, and love turns to resentment. So what does it actually mean to know your worth? It means you stop performing, you stop auditioning, you stop negotiating your value based on her reactions, and you start building your inner world. You build your strength in silence, your discipline in private. You decide what type of man you're going to be, and you become him without asking for applause. You say no when you mean no. You say yes only when it aligns with your values, and you begin to experience peace. Not because everything around you is calm, but because everything inside you is clear. And when you become clear, she sees it, she feels it, she can't ignore it, because your stillness becomes louder than her emotions, and your direction becomes more attractive than your words. When you know your value, you stop asking her to love you the right way, and you start showing up in a way that demands she does, not with force, not with games, but with consistent, grounded, unapologetic living. You stop trying to prove anything, and you start becoming something. And in that space, everything changes, not just how she treats you, but how the world treats you, because you've stopped betraying yourself for connection and started honoring yourself into conviction. And from that conviction, you build a life that inspires loyalty, not through manipulation, but through leadership, not through emotional highs, but through unshakable lows. And this is what separates the ones who chase approval from the ones who command respect, not by trying harder, but by becoming better, clearer, stronger. And once you become that man, you will never beg again. You will never explain yourself to be loved again, because the moment you truly understand your worth, you become untouchable to anything or anyone that would treat you like you don't matter. And if you're ready to go even deeper, to stop second-guessing yourself, to stop overgiving, to stop getting disrespected and overlooked in silence, check out The Stoic Relationship Blueprint for Men. This is more than a book, it's a wake-up call. It's filled with timeless Stoic principles that are made for men like you, men who are tired of playing small, tired of being confused, tired of giving everything and getting nothing. And now, it's available in audiobook format, so you can absorb this life-changing wisdom while walking, jogging, training, or simply reclaiming your peace. You don't have to find the time, you can carry it with you. Anywhere, anytime. The link is in the comments. Number 2. Stay calm under pressure. Staying calm under pressure isn't about looking tough or pretending nothing affects you. It's about having such a deep relationship with your values that no external event, no emotional outburst, and certainly no woman's shifting moods can pull you away from who you are. Because when a man lets chaos around him dictate his responses, he reveals the weakness of his core, and that weakness repels everything he wants. Her respect, his own peace, and any real sense of control in his life. Most men don't realize how exposed they are until they're tested. And it's not in moments of comfort that their true nature shows. It's when she's yelling, accusing, withdrawing affection, or throwing emotional curveballs just to see how grounded you are. And what do most men do? They plead, over-explain, raise their voice, or emotionally shut down thinking that silence equals strength. But real strength isn't silence, it's composed clarity. It's emotional discipline that doesn't come from suppressing feelings, but from understanding them so well that they no longer run the show. And if you're the kind of man who gets triggered easily, who reacts to every criticism, who takes every mood shift personally, then you're not in control. She is, and you've handed her the remote to your emotions, your focus, your energy, and your confidence. And every time you respond to her chaos with more chaos, she sees you as unstable, unpredictable, and emotionally weak, no matter how hard you try to mask it with confidence. But when you become the man who doesn't chase resolution in the moment, who doesn't get baited into pointless arguments, who stays rooted in his own emotional frame, she will feel it in her nervous system even if she doesn't admit it, because women don't test to hurt you. They test to see if you are who you say you are. And if you fail that test, even once, it plants a seed of doubt that grows fast. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being anchored, being consistent, being emotionally sovereign. And you do that by mastering yourself long before she tests you, by facing discomfort instead of escaping it, by holding tension instead of needing to fix it right away, by knowing your truth so deeply that her reactions, no matter how dramatic, can't make you question it. And when you become that man, you become a safe space, not because you say you are, but because your energy proves it every time things get difficult, and she won't always say it. But that kind of calm is rare, and when she feels it, she will submit to it, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it through unshakable presence. And when you stay calm under pressure, you take back the one thing most men lose in relationships, control of themselves, and that control is the foundation of every powerful move you make in life. Not just in love, but in business, in purpose, in fatherhood, in legacy. Because a man who can't control his emotions will always be controlled by something or someone else. But when you master this, truly master it, your calm becomes louder than her chaos, and your clarity becomes more seductive than your words. And she will follow, not because she has to, but because she wants to. Number 3. Stay focused on your purpose. When a man lacks purpose, he becomes lost in everything else, consumed by distractions, validation loops, emotional dependency, and empty routines that numb his mind but never nourish his soul. Waking up each day not with direction but with avoidance. Avoiding his responsibilities, avoiding hard truths, avoiding the silence that screams louder than any chaos outside. And most of the time he doesn't even realize it because the world rewards passivity with comfort, and comfort is the enemy of progress. So he scrolls, he waits, he reacts, and while he's doing that, his life becomes smaller, his relationships become weaker, and she starts looking at him differently. Not because he's not attractive, but because she doesn't feel led. And women are built to follow strength. Not strength in muscles or money, but strength in purpose. And if you don't have it, you will find yourself orbiting her world, begging for her time, adjusting your identity to match what you think she wants. And it will never be enough, because what she truly wants is a man who knows where he's going and doesn't need her to validate the path. She wants a man who has built a world so solid that she feels safer stepping into it than staying in her own. But you can't build that if you spend your days people-pleasing, compromising your values, or chasing approval. You need to sit down and get brutally honest about what your life is becoming. Are you building something that will outlast you, or are you just surviving another day? And if you don't know what your purpose is, start with what makes you feel ashamed. What are you avoiding? What goals are you too scared to pursue because you might fail? Go there, stay there, build there. Your purpose is born where your excuses die, and the moment you commit to it, everything begins to shift. Not because people suddenly support you, but because you stop needing them to, and your energy becomes more directed, your mind becomes sharper, your presence becomes heavier, and she feels that even before you speak, your purpose makes you magnetic, because it gives your life structure. And structure is the one thing most people don't have. It gives you a filter, so you stop entertaining people who drain you. Stop investing in things that don't multiply your vision. Stop wasting time explaining yourself to people who haven't earned the right to hear your truth. And as your focus tightens, so does your circle. And yes, some people will leave, some women will pull back, because they're not ready to follow a man who's going somewhere. But the ones who stay will respect you more than words can express, not because you made them feel special, but because you made yourself undeniable. And that's what she wants, even if she never says it. She wants to feel like she's part of something bigger than herself, and your purpose is that thing. So if you want to be respected, admired, followed, and remembered, then stop giving your energy to everything and start giving everything to one thing that makes your life worth living. Because when you live with direction, she no longer becomes your compass. And when she's no longer your compass, she finally sees you as a man worth walking beside. Number 4. Let your actions speak. Actions are louder than anything you'll ever say, and most men still don't get it because they're addicted to talking, always trying to explain, convince, justify, prove, hoping that if they say the right thing at the right time with the right tone, she'll finally understand them, finally respect them, finally love them the way they crave. But it never works, because respect isn't earned through volume, it's earned through consistency. And consistency is shown not in what you promise, but in what you repeat every single day, regardless of who's watching. So if you're the kind of man who's always talking about what you're going to do, what you should have done, what you're planning to start, she's already checked out, because talk is cheap and she's heard it before, from you or someone else. And women don't fall for promises. They fall for patterns, and your pattern is what defines your value, not your intentions, not your potential, and definitely not your excuses. And you know this deep down because every time you say something you don't follow through on, a small part of you loses trust in yourself, and that loss compounds. It adds up until you no longer believe your own words, and if you don't believe them, why should she? But when you start living in alignment with your standards, when your mornings are structured, your goals are written down, your calendar reflects your priorities, your body shows your discipline, your finances reflect your vision, and your circle reflects your integrity, then your presence becomes enough. You no longer need to chase, explain, or beg to be seen. And she feels that before you even speak. Because a man who leads himself is more attractive than a man who tries to lead her without first doing the work. And the truth is, she doesn't trust what you say, she trusts what you repeatedly show her. So if you say you value your health, but you eat trash and avoid the gym, she sees that. If you say you're focused but your phone owns your attention more than your mission does, she sees that too. If you say you're a leader, but you can't even control your reactions, she doesn't need to call it out. Her body already knows you're bluffing, and it disconnects quietly. So stop trying to impress with words and start building a life that speaks louder than your mouth ever could. Wake up earlier. Stop hitting snooze on your goals and your responsibilities. Write down what you want. Break it into steps. Hold yourself accountable. And let your results become the loudest thing about you. And over time, as your results stack, your value increases. Not because she says so, but because you've become undeniable in the way you move. And she can't help but respond to that. She respects it. She softens around it. She follows it. Not because you told her to, but because you gave her something real to follow. And this is where most men miss the point. They think they need to change her mind, when what they really need to change is their habits. Because women don't follow feelings, they follow frameworks. And when your life has a structure, your actions are aligned with your words, and your energy backs up your presence. She responds not with doubt, but with devotion. And that devotion isn't random. It's earned in silence, earned in discipline, earned in repetition. So don't tell her what kind of man you are. Show her through how you wake up, how you move, how you decide, how you protect your energy, and how you handle pressure. Because that's the real language she understands. And once you start speaking it, everything changes. Number 5. Dress with purpose. The way you dress tells the world how you feel about yourself, even before you speak. And a lot of men don't realize that the clothes they put on every morning are either a message of power or a confession of laziness. You don't need money to dress well, but you need awareness, you need self-respect. And you need to understand that your appearance isn't just about impressing others. It's about reminding yourself who you are, what you stand for, and how serious you are about your life. And the problem is too many men dress like they've already given up, like they're invisible, like they've accepted mediocrity as their destiny. Oversized hoodies, wrinkled t-shirts, beat-up shoes. Not because they can't afford better, but because they've stopped demanding more from themselves. And then they wonder why people don't take them seriously, why she stops admiring them, why they get passed over for opportunities. When you show up looking like you've neglected yourself, the world responds accordingly, and so does she, because women don't just see what you wear. They feel the intention behind it. If you walk in a room dressed like you're not sure who you are, she reads that energy before you say a word. But when you dress with intention, with clarity, with precision, you shift the energy instantly. Not because the clothes have power, but because the man wearing them does. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about fashion trends or designer brands. This is about fitting your standards, not fitting in. It's about wearing clothes that are clean, fitted, and aligned with how you want to be perceived. You can't say you're a leader and show up looking like you just rolled out of bed. You can't claim confidence while dressing like you're hiding from the world. And the truth is, when you start caring about your appearance, something changes internally. You walk differently, you speak differently, you think differently, because you've signaled to yourself that you matter, that your standards are high, and when your standards rise, your decisions follow. And this applies to everything, from how you carry your shoulders to how you shake hands, from your grooming to your shoes, from your scent to your posture. Every detail is a message, and the man who ignores these details is the man who keeps wondering why he gets average results. She won't say it directly, but how you look affects how she feels around you. If you look like a man who commands respect, she will respect you more. If you look like a man who's figured himself out, she'll trust your decisions more. And if you look like a man who lives with discipline, she will feel safer letting go of control around you. And it's not because women are shallow, it's because they are sensitive to cues, and your style is a constant cue, so start paying attention. Look at your wardrobe, your hygiene, your shoes, your grooming. Are they a reflection of the man you're becoming, or a reminder of the man you used to be? Stop settling for good enough. Stop wearing comfort as a disguise for avoidance. Start wearing your vision, because every time you walk out the door, you're either confirming your identity or confusing it. And the men who master this don't just get compliments, they get results. They walk into rooms and shift energy without speaking, because their presence says everything before their mouth even opens. Number 6. Control your emotions. Controlling your emotions is not about suppressing them, but about mastering the direction they go. And most men walk around like time bombs, waiting for the next woman, the next disagreement, the next rejection to trigger an explosion, because they were never taught how to manage what they feel, only how to hide it, fake it, or let it break them when it becomes too much to hold. And that's exactly why their relationships fall apart, why she stops looking at them with admiration and starts seeing them as unstable, unpredictable, unsafe. Not because they're bad people, but because they've allowed their emotional reactions to define their identity. And if you're the kind of man who gets defensive every time she challenges you, who loses composure when things don't go your way, who shuts down when the conversation gets uncomfortable, then you're not in control. Your emotions are, and when your emotions run your life, she stops trusting your leadership, because a man who can't hold his center becomes a liability, not a leader. And she may not say it directly, but she feels it deeply, because your energy, your tone, your body language, they all reveal what you try to hide. And the truth is, she will test you, not because she hates you, but because she needs to know you're strong enough to handle her, to handle life, to handle yourself. And if you fail that test, you lose her at a level words can't recover. So how do you control your emotions? Not by acting like they don't exist, but by knowing exactly what triggers you, when it happens, why it happens, and building the discipline to pause, breathe, observe, and choose your response instead of reacting on autopilot. That's where true strength lives, in the space between what happens and what you choose to do about it. And most men never cultivate that space because they avoid the work it takes to build it. It's easier to blame her, to justify the outburst, to explain why she pushed me too far. But that mindset will destroy everything you try to build, because if you can't even control your mouth in a heated moment, how can you lead a household? How can you protect your peace? How can you be trusted with anything beyond basic survival? And don't confuse emotional control with emotional coldness. Being emotionally present means you feel everything, without being owned by any of it, and that's the key. She doesn't want a robot. She wants a man who can feel without falling apart, who can lead without yelling, who can handle tension without needing to escape it. And you build that by putting yourself in discomfort daily, by choosing the hard conversations over silence, by choosing the gym when you're tired, by facing failure without crumbling. Every rep you do under pressure, every time you choose self-respect over emotional reaction, every time you delay gratification, you train yourself to be the kind of man who cannot be shaken. And when she sees that, not only does she trust you more, but she respects you at a level that makes her want to give more, love more, and lean in deeper, not because you manipulated her, but because you gave her a container she can finally feel safe in. And that safety isn't about what you say. It's about how you move under fire, how you lead when things go sideways, how you stay grounded when everyone else is spinning out. And that presence, that stillness, that self-control is what separates the men who keep their peace from the men who constantly lose it. Number 7. Protect your energy. Protecting your energy starts with knowing exactly who and what drains you. And that includes the conversations you keep having out of guilt, the people you keep trying to fix even though they have no intention of changing, and the habits that slowly eat away at your focus. And most men don't protect their energy, not because they can't, but because they don't value themselves enough to say no, to step back, to disconnect from the chaos and choose solitude when everyone else is chasing validation. And this is where the collapse begins. Because when your energy is scattered, your direction is lost, your clarity is gone, and you start pouring yourself into everything except the one thing that matters most, your growth. And that's exactly why you feel stuck, why your relationships are draining you, why you're constantly fatigued, even when you're not doing anything physically exhausting, because you're emotionally overextended, constantly managing other people's emotions, walking on eggshells, tolerating disrespect, explaining yourself over and over again to people who aren't even listening. And when you live like this, you become a shell of yourself, reactive instead of responsive, and eventually you lose the fire that made you desirable, respected, and powerful, especially in the eyes of a woman who once looked up to you. Now she sees a man who's always available, always adjusting, always bending. And the sad truth is she begins to lose interest, not because she's ungrateful, but because you've made yourself emotionally cheap, too accessible, too accommodating, too dependent on keeping the peace instead of holding your ground. And every time you prioritize her mood over your mission, her comfort over your code, you lower your value in her eyes and your own. So how do you protect your energy? You start by creating a system for your focus, by filtering every decision through your values, by removing people who bring confusion, drama, and emotional chaos into your world, not with hate, but with distance, not with rage, but with standards. And that includes her too. If she drains you more than she feeds you, if her presence costs you your peace, then your connection is no longer love, it's self-betrayal. And the longer you stay in it, the more of yourself you lose. And it doesn't stop there. Protecting your energy also means what you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, who you follow, what you laugh at. Because all of that trains your subconscious to either aim higher or settle lower. And the man who learns to manage his energy wins not because he's the most talented or charismatic, but because his focus is lethal, his priorities are unshakable, and his time is treated like currency, not given away to anyone who smiles nice or says the right words, but invested only in the people, goals, and environments that multiply his momentum. And when you become that man, you no longer have to chase peace or protect your value. It radiates from you, and she feels it even when you're silent. Number 8. Set firm boundaries. Setting boundaries is not about being rude or cold, but about knowing what you stand for and making it non-negotiable in a world that constantly tests you. And every man has a line, but most don't draw it clearly, and even fewer enforce it when it matters. So what happens is, they start bending slowly, answering the late texts, accepting disrespect in silence, laughing off things that actually offend their core, agreeing to plans they hate, saying yes when their whole body screams no, and it doesn't seem like a big deal at first. But every time you allow that line to be crossed, every time you make room for what you know you should shut down, you send a message, not just to her, but to yourself, that your standards are flexible. And the moment you send that message, you begin to lose, because a man who doesn't protect his own standards will never be respected. And women don't follow your words, they follow your enforcement. And that means if she tests your boundary and you fold, she now knows that your strength is conditional. Your leadership is based on her mood. Your identity is a suggestion, not a standard. And she may never say it, but she feels it, and the energy changes. Now she's pulling away, disrespecting in small ways, acting colder, and you're confused, wondering what happened. But what happened is you showed her you're not serious about what you claim, and now she's responding to that reality. And the only way to shift it is not through convincing her to come back or trying harder, but by getting clear on who you are, what you expect, and what you will never accept again, and living that truth in every space, with every person, especially with women. Because women don't just test to push, they test to see if your strength is real. And most men crumble at the first push. They explain, they justify, they adjust their values for affection, and they call it love. but it's not. It's self-abandonment dressed up as compromise, and it's killing you, so set the boundary, enforce it, and don't apologize for it. If she walks away, let her go, because anything that leaves you for standing on your values was never safe to build with anyway, and when you live this way, your boundaries don't push people away. They filter out everything that would have broken you later, and what remains is real, aligned, and built on something unshakable. And now you don't have to raise your voice to be heard, don't have to explain yourself to be understood, because your life speaks, your actions draw the line, your presence carries the message, and the women who are ready for it won't test it, they'll trust it. Number 9. Stand alone if you must. Standing alone is the final test of every man who chooses his truth over comfort, because the moment you decide to live by principle, not popularity, you will lose people. Some will distance themselves, some will mock your standards, and some, especially the woman you thought would ride with you, will start pulling back when she realizes she can't control you anymore. And this is the part that breaks most men, not the loneliness, but the shock of realizing how conditional the loyalty was. How many people only stood beside them when they were agreeable, easy to lead, easy to predict. And this is where your backbone is built or broken, because when she pulls away, when her energy shifts, when her tone gets colder, when her affection starts to dry up, the average man will start adjusting, softening, compromising, not because he believes it's right, but because he fears the loss more than he values his truth. And in doing so, he betrays himself, again and again, until one day he doesn't recognize who he's become. A man who used to stand tall, now shrinking in every conversation. A man who used to lead, now asking for permission to speak. And the tragedy is, it doesn't even get him the result he wants, because the more he gives up to keep her, the less she wants to stay. And by the time he wakes up, he's broken, alone, and empty. But here's the thing. The man who can stand alone is the man who never needs to beg again, because he's already passed the test most never take. And when you can walk away from anything that violates your peace, even if it's the woman you wanted most, you become dangerous in the best way. Not because you hurt people, but because you refuse to be hurt by what doesn't honor your standard. And when you live like this, something shifts in your energy. You stop fearing loss. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop adjusting your life to fit people who never planned to stay. And instead, you build in silence, heal in private, and grow with precision. And soon, the right people begin to appear. Not because you chased them, but because your presence now attracts what aligns. And she will feel that difference. She may not say it, but she'll feel it deeply. And either she rises to meet it or she fades. But either way, you win, because you're no longer afraid of being alone. You've mastered it, and in mastering it, you've unlocked the highest form of strength, the kind that doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't fake, and doesn't need anyone to validate it. And that's the man who not only keeps his power, but multiplies it. Most men will never hear this truth, not because it isn't out there, but because the world does everything it can to bury it. Society doesn't want you strong. It doesn't want you focused. It doesn't want you respected. Because the second you wake up and start living by unshakable standards, you become impossible to control. That's why the Stoic relationship blueprint exists. It's the knowledge they never taught you, raw, unapologetic, timeless Stoic principles that will transform how you lead, love, and live, starting now. And now, it's available in audiobook format, so you can let it rewire your thinking while you walk, jog, train, or work. It's not just a book. It's the key to the man you were meant to become. Comment, "I'm taking control," if you're ready to grab it. Then like the video and subscribe so more men can find this before they waste another year living in silence and regret.